Okay, everyone. Today we're going to have today's going to be a very short video. Only a little bit of information for you, but you do have some things you'll need to do. First of all, taking notes. Secondly, you will be creating a chart comparing Athens and Sparta, and then third, you're going to write me a mini essay saying which you would prefer, Athens or Sparta. So today we're going to talk about the Greek city-states. In the 8th century, roughly 400 years after the fall of the Mycenaeans, which Greece experienced a period of dark age in that time, literacy disappeared, the language had disappeared, the written word had disappeared, but the Greeks had adopted what is known as the Phoenician alphabet, which was an alphabet that came out of farther down into the Middle East in the area of what is now modern-day Syria and Israel, and they modified it to create a Greek alphabet, which you do have on your homework sheet. From about the 9th century BC, written records begin to appear. Greece is divided into many small self-governing communities, largely, as we've already talked about, dictated by the geography. Because it was so mountainous and so many islands and everybody's cut off from the other, they kind of separated out and developed independently of each other. Okay, here's the Greek alphabet. What I'd like you to do is try to write your name in the Greek alphabet. If you'll notice, look at the columns. Okay, on the left side are the Greek letters. On the right side of the line is the American letter, or the small e. So you would have, in order starting from the left side, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta. The next column is iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, z, omicron, pi, which you should be familiar, rho, which is actually a letter P, but they say it rho, it's the R, sigma, the S, tau, the T, upsilon, that one that looks kind of like a palm tree, phi, which gives you the F sound, the F sound, chi, the X, psi, and then omega. Okay, so I'd like you to write your name, try to write it in Greek, and see if you and write. Let me know what changes you have to make so that you can recognize your name as it's written in the alphabet today. Okay, because of Greek geography, like I've already said, small independent autonomous government forms. And there's basically 5 kinds of governments that crop up. You have a monarchy, which is a rule by one man, generally inherited, and it is a man. There are no women rulers. An aristocracy, this is the rule by the rich, okay, by a small group of rich nobles. Oligarchies, usually a few people, 2 or 3, and they're usually military leaders. Then you have a tyranny, which is a one-man takeover, usually with popular support. Usually when there's a problem, they would bring in a tyrant, often a general, to straighten things out. The Romans will adopt this in the form of the dictatorship. And then you have the democracies, most famously in Athens. Many rulers, many people. And these are pure democracies. They are not representative democracies like we have here in the United States where we elect people. This was anyone with property was allowed to have a say in the government. Now, the basic unit of politics in ancient Greece is what is called the polis. Okay, sometimes translated as city-state. And the term politics literally means things of the polis. Each city is independent, at least in theory. There is no greater Greek king. Okay, the supreme power in each city is located within that city. This meant that when Greece went to war, say against the Persians, which is the war we will talk about first, it takes time to form an alliance going to war. It also gives them ample opportunity for wars between them. And we're going to talk about external wars, the Persian Wars, and later we will talk about an internal Greek civil war called the Peloponnesian War. Okay, 2 major city-states emerge. You should be familiar with them. They are Athens, up here on the Attican Peninsula, and then down below on the Peloponnesian is Sparta. Okay, and these two vie for power to be the dominant state among the Greeks. When they went to war, there was a big argument over who was going to be in charge. And we're going to compare the two. And usually some of the states would side with one group and other states would side with the other. Okay, I want you to create this chart in your notes. Okay, this is a comparison between the two. Okay, so how are they different? First of all, let's start with Athens. Athens is what's known as a limited democracy, and it's only limited by the fact that you had to own property to be able to vote. Okay, they had a citizen assembly that made all the laws. It was only male citizens, and citizens were only people with property. They traded with other city-states. They gave education to boys, but women were considered to be inferior, and they had no legal rights. Okay, so that is Athens. Sparta, on the other hand, is a monarchy with two kings. Reason for that it's a military society, and when they went to war, one of the kings would lead the army, the other would stay back. Usually it was an older and a younger king, so you could kind of have a king in training. Okay, as I said, it's a military-based society. Everything is based on military life and troop life. Trade and travel are not allowed. They are what's called xenophobic. They do not like outsiders. All boys beginning at age 7 must have military training, and they remain in the military till the minimum of age 30. They live with their army members, and they train with them. They eat with them. Everything goes on within the military unit. During these times, they are married. They do marry, but the women stay at home. They don't live with the army. Girls are trained the same way that the boys are, except for they're trained to be mothers and wives of soldiers. Okay? The women obey the men, but women are allowed to own property. And women have a lot more rights in Sparta because when the men were away fighting the wars, the women usually had to take over and run the farm or whatever occupation the family had. Okay, so that is Athens and Sparta. You need to have put this chart into your notes. Oh, sorry, forgot to give you what they have in common. Both speak Greek. They have a common language. They have the shared heroes of the gods of Mount Olympus, which you have been introduced to in Mrs. Ferris's class when you're doing the Odyssey. They competed against each other in the Olympic Games, and they used the same gods and religious beliefs. So they follow the same religious system. They're just different in the way the society is structured. So now, what you're going to do for tomorrow's class is you're going to write me a brief essay, and we're talking a little more than a paragraph maybe, that will explain and defend which city-state you would rather live in. Okay, so you need to talk about what you like about that particular city-state and why you would want to live there. In detail, give specifics. And you can also bring in the stuff from the other that maybe you don't want any part of. Okay, so that is your assignment. Make sure you've taken notes. Make sure you've completed the Greece and Athens chart and the essay. And I will check those in class tomorrow.